Other questions?
So what benefit has the state gotten out of the past 3 years for this $2.5 million a year that's been paid to Monster?
Very limited.
Does that bother you, that taxpayer dollars have been used in that form?
Look, the state has been mangled. It's mismanaged and mangled. I mean, does this surprise me? Of course it doesn't surprise me. Everywhere we look, it's mismanaged and mangled. You know, whether it was Medicaid operating in 7 different places. And now I find out, by the way, the same problem as it relates to daycare. It's the same deal. We got the daycare operation. Michael and I were just talking at the cabinet meeting this morning. We got it in 2 separate departments. There's too many silos out there, and you know, daycare is a priority for us, as you know, and there are ways in which we can save money. So there is nothing that surprises me. We're working on a website that is going to be called, can you believe that? Okay? And we're going to post all this stuff because we have not managed, this state has not been managed. And so when you all talk about, well, how did you ever balance a budget? You know, you're like, you keep going back, you know, we can't figure this out. Well, 2/3 of the GRF have been reduced. And there aren't many people complaining. Now, I got a superintendent here today saying, thank goodness for what you're doing down there, school superintendent, okay? How'd we do it? We got a lot of things done because things have been so badly mismanaged. Now, I want to just reemphasize one other thing, because some of you weren't there, and I know you weren't there, Laura. As you know, Tim Keene and I and a couple of his guys and Wayne went up to see the bonding houses. We saw Fitch, S&P, and Moody's. We are going to be held in this negative watch. When you get a negative watch for an extended period of time, you expect them to do something. I was very concerned we would be downgraded. And I'm not going to tell you that a downgrade at some point isn't coming. What do they have to say? First of all, it's a very positive report about Senate Bill 5 and the ability of local governments to control their costs. That goes down as a positive. Secondly, the idea that we are eliminating the structural deficit and we are no longer using one-time money also appears in the report from Moody's. Have you seen the report? Okay. Also says that eliminating that one-time money is very significant, and the state of Ohio is eliminating the structural deficit. What are their warnings? 2 warnings. The budget, the governor's budget, the major reforms must not be stripped out. It's in the report. Secondly, the underlying Ohio economy is weak. And in every one of those meetings, they ask me, where's the economic strength going to come from? Now, I've got to suggest to all of you that if we don't make progress on this, our credit declines, and you don't want that to happen. Now, I think I'm going to be calling them, and I'm going to thank them and tell them the progress we're making out here in terms of moving this budget along. I'm going to talk to them about these kind of initiatives. I'm going to talk to them about the major investment of Diebold and American Greetings and Bob Evans and their new headquarters, and we will have another announcement on Monday. Another, I'm told, significant announcement on Monday that will be another bit of really good news. But the key is we have to deal with the underlying economic conditions, and at the same time we've got to make sure that we get this budget through to fix the structural problem. Disruptions in that puts us at risk. So there's good news and bad news, and I'm glad we dodged this one, but you know, we went up and gave it our best shot, but I got to tell you, they're not going to hang on to this negative rating for long until it's going to be forced to act at some point. And we'll do the best we can to move the needle as quickly as we can. But I've only been here now 97 days.
Governor, you've said very clearly in the past, if private enterprise is doing something, government should butt out and should not be doing the same thing. You know, it's in the yellow pages, government shouldn't be doing it. Doesn't
Some
private
pretty good
enterprise,
quotes. I'm going to use those going forward. Go ahead.
Well, doesn't private enterprise already do job searches for people, resume circulation? There are headhunter groups. So using your own principle here, doesn't this in a way violate that?
Well, Bill, government as a last resort, not as a first resort. And there are clearly things government has to do. I mean, thank goodness, government has to be involved in the prisons. They don't have to run it all. government has to be involved in helping the developmentally disabled, the mentally ill, but I must tell you, I also talked today about the need to begin building an infrastructure at the community level to service the mentally ill who were released from our institutions. Now, this is a long process, but we bring these things up because we think they're really important. And there's a role for private business to play in that, and also our these what do you call them, where people give money, these foundations. It's another opportunity. But Bill, in this case, Michael Colbert has got to pass out the unemployment checks. He's got to run the TANF program. So it's natural to involve both the public and the private. So in this case, as he just explained, Monster provides a valuable service to the unemployed, but also the underemployed, and this is a beautiful partnership, a great relationship. So you remember in the transportation bill, we created the public-private partnership. So it doesn't mean government does nothing, and it doesn't mean the private sector does it all. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen out there in the private sector, including some of the greed of the CEOs that bothers the living daylights out of me. Okay, so there's a role, you just got to figure out where it is.
Is this a matter of just taking what's there, promoting it, and making sure people know about it, or are you going to change the system and make it better?
Well, I think first of all, as they talk, there's an enhanced. Do you want to say something about this, Michael?
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to do a lot of enhancements. I want to kind of go back to your question, and I'm going to tie it into your question. Part of the workforce investment dollars that we receive from the federal government requires us to do a employer outreach. So in order to get the dollars, you have to go out and reach out to the employer community and tie it back in to the employee community and the people that need jobs. Bringing it back to your question, yes, we've done a number of enhancements. We've reached out to technical and trade schools. We're reaching into the library network. So it is a great program. We're making it better by expanding it so that we give the employers the skilled employees that they need.
And you're going to have an upgrade too, as he mentioned.
Well, one of the things that you get by investing in Monster.com is you get 15 years of innovation, plus you'll get, as you continue to go, all of the innovation that we continue to build. And we have hundreds of developers, thousands of developers actually around the world building innovation into our platform. So that will continue to be upgraded. And then there's the ability to build specific enhancements that are unique and needed by the state of Ohio. So as an example, filtering veterans, all things being equal, filtering veterans to the top of the list is not something that Monster does, but it is something that Ohio has chosen to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, and a large part of this is no one knew about the program, right? That's why, you got to tell people what you're doing. You can't hide it under a bushel basket, but this will be far more promoted. We'll see.
Governor, you have in the past used the job vacancy numbers to highlight what you say is the need for greater training in the workforce.
Yes.
That's why these jobs haven't been filled.
Yes, you were down there for that.
So, I guess, is it more of a problem of we need better training, or is it more of a problem of people just didn't know that the jobs were out
This
there?
will be the last one. No, I think the problem is it's all of the above. People don't know about this site. Businesses clearly don't know about this site. Think about one of the things that small businesses gets with this. Let me give you an example. I've always had, one of the things these big box stores does is it provides the small entrepreneur with a distribution network. If you can get your product in the Home Depot or in the Walmart or whatever, a person who would have an almost impossible task of getting distribution, you know what I mean by that? Getting the light bulb, putting all the different, it suddenly gives them distribution. The beauty of the Monster site is instead of small businesses having to go out there and do all this HR stuff, it's already being done for them. So that's a real plus for them. In addition to this, Michael talks about the Workforce Development Grant. It's like 80 or 90% of it goes to the unemployed, not to the people who are currently employed. So one of the things we want to do with our voucher program is to upgrade people's skills who are currently working. And with this program, you now can put a voucher in the hands of a business, and they can not only hire somebody but have the voucher to train them for the opening that exists. Do you know, I was down in Washington and I met with the head of the Workforce Development and Training blah 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 committee, okay? There are 26 jurisdictions in the Congress, all of whom claim that they're in charge of this. I said to the guy, why don't we get it like in one place? Well, I mean, Mr. Joe over here, he's the Commerce Committee. He doesn't want to give it up. And the Education, he don't want to give it up. And this guy, he don't want to give it up. So who gives it up? The people give it up. So the ability to change that workforce development stuff is so important. Let Seibert free. Let him use this money in the best possible way. It's probably not going to happen now. But we can take some of that gambling money, 20 million and 30 million, it's before we get to have our conversations with them, the 20 million and the 30 million to create this voucher program, which many of you remember was part of our campaign. So we're going to keep our word on that, okay? And thank you all very much. Great.